Welcome to everyone to today's webinar on youth employment to advance workplace equity. As I said, my name is Maria Woodruff Wright, and I'm the interim president and CFO of the Skillman Foundation. And we are a private philanthropic organization, a private foundation that supports Detroit's youth in the areas of K through 12 education, after school partnership, and college and career pathways, which is one of the areas that we're going to be exploring today. We are thrilled to be co-hosting this webinar with Urban Alliance, a youth workforce and development nonprofit who brought their deep touch internship program to Detroit in 2018 with some support from the Skillman Foundation and the Rocket Community Fund and Bank of America. Before we get started, there are a few housekeeping issues or notes that I'd like everyone to just kind of note. One, everyone is muted. You can ask a question through the webinar by typing it in the chat box, but please introduce yourself and the name of your organization. And the speakers will address the questions at the end of the webinar. And the webinar is being recorded and will be sent to all participants. With that, today we are hearing from both employers and youth workforce development practitioners about how youth employment is essential to building leak-proof pipelines of diverse local talent, resulting in better outcomes for both youth and businesses. And I just want to stress that it's both the kids and also our corporate partners, the businesses. And when we have that type of collaboration, it's a better system for all. We will begin with an overview of the research to put today's discussion in context. What are the benefits of diversity? Where are employers falling short? And what are the barriers for youth of color are facing when transitioning to the world of work? The majority of today's webinar will be moderated and discussion with our panelists as they share why they have invested in youth employment, what makes it effective, and best practices for employers and other nonprofit intermediaries, as we work together to meet this moment and build a more equitable workforce for the next generation as we build it from the devastation of this pandemic. To kick us off, I'm pleased to introduce the new CEO of Urban Alliance, Elizabeth Lindsay, who joined the organization last month after a career dedicated to creating pathways to living wage careers and building a more diverse and inclusive workforce. Most recently as CEO of inclusive tech training nonprofit, Byte Back, spelled B-Y-T-E, so Byte. I'd also like to share a fun fact about all of my panelists, but I'm going to start out with Elizabeth. Elizabeth is a longtime Beyonce fan and saw her live in concert. Do you guys remember when we actually had live concerts? And during her first solo tour, and has been a huge fan ever since, as am I. Elizabeth, take it away.
Thank you so much, Maria. I'm so thrilled to be here. So let's get started. So I want to start by introducing you all to Jamaria Monroe. Jamaria was a high school student at the Detroit International Academy for Young Women. And Jamaria came to Urban Alliance, which you'll hear more about later from my fabulous colleague, Margaret. And Jamaria came to Urban Alliance, and her goal was to become one of the few people in her family to graduate from high school. And so with Urban Alliance, Jamaria was placed into an internship at Quicken Loans. And Jamaria had a life-changing experience at Quicken Loans and with her internship. She built a really close relationship with her mentor, who supported her, who helped her develop critical soft skills. She got exposed to this entirely new world of work and an entirely new world of possibility. And Jamaria changed her goal from being a high school graduate to being a high school graduate who goes into a career at Quicken Loans. And I'm so excited to share that last summer, Jamaria reached her goal. She's now on the client relations team at Quicken. The reason we are here today is to talk more about how we can support incredible young people like Jamaria to reach their dreams, to be exposed to a new world of possibilities. And like Maria said also, it is mutually beneficial for the corporate sector and for our young people to work together. So we all know a lot of these stats. It is proven that diverse companies do better. Companies with more diverse management teams make higher revenues. Decisions made by diverse teams are better. We've all been in situations where you see examples of groupthink, or you see a decision a corporation makes, and it's clear there are no people of color in that room. More diverse companies have higher financial returns. This is fact. These are many, many years of studies that show this. Next slide, Emily. Thank you. So despite the fact that it makes good business sense for companies to have a diverse workforce, the reality looks very different. Under 9% of Fortune 500 and S&P 500 CEOs are people of color. This statistic in the middle is especially disturbing to me. In our extremely diverse country, only 11% of elected officials are women and men of color, meaning that most people who are making the decisions about the key policies that impact our lives, they don't reflect the diversity of our society. And then, since it's been tracked, Black unemployment has always been higher than white unemployment. So we are here. This is the situation because we live in a country where we have lived every day with over 400 years of systemic racism. And what that has led to is hiring discrimination is still a real thing. It's led to what we call a network gap. So over 70% of people had some existing connection to their employer before they were hired, including me, including I'm sure many of us on this call. And so what that means is if you don't have access to a network, if you're a young person of color like Jamaria, who maybe doesn't have parents or neighbors who have had a career like she wanted to have, you don't have those connections. You don't have someone saying, let me call my friend and get you an internship. Let me talk to the hiring manager. I know her from college. There's also a significant soft skills gap. 85% of workplace success is based on soft skills, skills like communication, teamwork, time management. And employers continue to report they have a very hard time finding employees with key soft skills. And one of the ways we learn soft skills is through having work-based learning experiences, like Jamaria had at Quicken Loans. And then finally, there's what we call an exposure gap. And this is kind of like, you don't know that something exists unless you see it. And so when we look at data around the number of people of color and young people of color who go into STEM careers, one of the reasons they're not going into STEM careers is because they don't know they exist. When I was growing up as a first generation college student, I had no idea the realm of career possibilities that were out there for me. And I only learned that through having work experiences and going to college and being exposed to a wider range of opportunities. I'm sure many of us have seen these statistics that young people were hardest hit by COVID-related unemployment. A full 28% of young people between the ages of 18 and 24 were unemployed as a direct result of COVID-19. That is a staggering statistic. And we are going to see the impacts of that unemployment for years to come. And what is especially disturbing is that unemployment and what we call disconnection, meaning when young people are not in college and they're not working, were completely increased significantly during COVID, especially for people of color. So if you look at this bar graph on your left, US youth disconnection by race. In February 2020, we see 11% of young people total were disconnected, full 15% of Black youth, 12% of Hispanic youth. 4 months later, in June 2020, we see more than a doubling of the Black disconnection rate. 34% of young people ages 16 to 24 were not enrolled in school and they were not working. This is staggering, and we have years of work to do to address the repercussions from that statistic and from that anomaly. The good news, and this is why we're here today, is that when we provide work opportunities for young people, it changes our society. The young people themselves make future wages that are higher throughout their careers. They have a decreased risk of poverty. They have better mental health outcomes. They go to school more. It's amazing. They have a completely different future. The economy is better. We have a higher GDP, higher productivity. The section in orange here are all the impacts on businesses, and that's what we're going to be talking more about today. You see improved diversity, equity, and inclusion, higher revenue, reduced onboarding and hiring and recruiting costs, because there is a workforce full of young people who have been in jobs, who have those soft skills. And then there's also a significant impact on communities. And one of the statistics that I'm most proud of at Urban Alliance, well, I'm proud of it, it's also a little disturbing, is that 80% of our young people have to utilize some of their wages they make at Urban Alliance for their paid internship. 80% of them share some of that, or if not all of that, with their families. And so by increasing youth unemployment, we're not only helping the economic potential of the young people, but it also directly impacts their families and their communities. So finally, I'm going to turn it back over to Maria, and I'm so excited to hear this panel today. But I want to leave us with a call to action as we're listening to these experts talk about how we can work together for youth employment. Youth employment is a DEI solution. It's a way that we can diversify our workforce. It's a way that we can improve the economy. And it's a way that we can support the next generation of leaders, of Fortune 500 CEOs to be developed and to have a new realm of possibilities and opportunity open to them. So thank you so much. And Maria, I'm turning it over to you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Important reminders. It's so great to hear a story about Jamaria and Quicken Loans. And the thing that I took away is that diversity makes good business sense. And diversity not only means in terms of race, it means in terms of age. And so by having young people involved in the business world, it makes good business sense. So I'm excited to introduce our panelists who are going to lead today's discussion and on the work that we're doing for the critical workforce development here in Detroit. In alphabetical order, we first have Margaret Allen, who's the executive director of Urban Alliance, who's working to increase economic opportunity for youth through paid 6 to 9 month internships, job skills training, and mentoring. A fun fact about Margaret is that she also studied holistic medicine. So you can see that in your skin, and you just look so beautiful. So I want some of that, Margaret. Next, we have Jamie Danzig, who's Executive Director of Education and Employment at Rocket Community Fund, the philanthropic arm of Rock Family of Companies, who works to support thriving, resilient, and inclusive communities through data-driven investments in housing, employment, and public life. A fun fact about Jamie is that Jamie is getting married in this September, and she's headed to Hawaii for a real honeymoon. hopefully without masks in Hawaii when she's outdoors, not on the plane, but when she's outdoors. Next up, we have Benjamin Matthews, who's the Business Planning Manager and Chief of Staff for a Global VP of Sales, After Sales, and Marketing for Buick GMC. Benjamin is currently represents GMC as Diversity Ambassador on all DEI initiatives. And Benjamin, I love this fun fact about you. He actually began his career and journey at Buick GMC as a high school student and can personally attest to the value of youth employment. Benjamin, looking at you, that was probably last week that you were in high school, right? Right.
Thank you, Maria.
And finally, we have Stephanie Nixon, Chief Program Officer at Detroit Employment Solutions Corporation, who runs Grow Detroit's Young Talent, a citywide summer youth employment program. And a fun fact about Stephanie is that she was a hockey cheerleader. She, I think you went there on someone made a bet or something. Someone gave you a bet or something.
It was a dare.
It was a dare.
It was a dare. I tried out and messed around and won.
And you
ended up making the team, right?
You know, the vision of hockey and cheerleaders just makes me laugh. I'm sorry.
Just doesn't go together.
Yeah, but thank you for all being here today, and we look forward to a lively discussion. First, I'd like to go to ground this discussion by looking at how youth employment works in Detroit. Stephanie and Margaret, can you walk us through your programs and how you interact with local employers? And what is your place within the broader youth employment ecosystem here in Detroit? Stephanie, let's get started with you and Grow Detroit's Young Talent.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Maria. Great to be here. Just so I can start, there's a number of programs that we do offer through Detroit at Work, or DESC. DESC, we're the workforce development agency for the city of Detroit. So we do offer a variety of workforce programs to meet the diverse needs of Detroit youth ages 14 to 24. Now, as being the workforce agency, all of the federal and state dollars for workforce that are allocated to the city come to Detroit Employment Solutions Corporation because we're the fiduciary. And then we, for the most part, contract our services out to quality youth development agencies across the city. Now, so I'm gonna go through the array of services. I'll do it really quickly, guys, because we do have a number of them, but I do want to be able to give you a high level picture of what we offer. Like to start with our most popular program, which is GDYT. It's a summer youth employment program for youth ages 14 to 24. You just need to be a resident of the city of Detroit and be inside that age range, and you are eligible. Now, we provide services there at 3 levels. Youth development experiences, basically for young people 14 to 16, no work experience, teaching them how to be productive employees, introducing them to the world of work, led by community-based organizations, cohort-based work, project-based work, just introducing young people to the world of work. The next level is industry-led training. We offer opportunities for young people to be trained to learn skills in high growth, high demand occupations. So over 6 weeks, we pay them a stipend. They learn skill sets that lead to a credential. And often they also receive or secure permanent employment as a result of earning that credential at the end of the summer. And then finally, the professional internships. Young people are placed at law firms, banks, hospitals, accounting firms. These are for young people who have some work experience, who are ready for more formal corporate and work experience. And oftentimes those lead to permanent opportunities as well. Now, the next program that we've been running for years is the WIOA Year-Round Youth Program. And WIOA is the acronym for Workforce Investment and Opportunity Act. And those are the funds that support this particular program. That program is provided through our network of providers. We have 5 providers across the city. They provide work readiness training, career exploration, work-based learning, case management, support services, and follow-up. So just a nice array
Thank
and support for
Thank you
young
so
people.
much, Stephanie. I believe that you could talk about the things, the programs that are supported by GDYT and DESC for the entire hour. And I really, really thank you for providing such a rich overview of the work that you're doing and supporting in the city of Detroit. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Margaret, who
Okay.
will answer the same question.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Stephanie. So Urban Alliance is fairly new to Detroit, but since '96, our mission has been to increase economic opportunity for youth from under-resourced communities, primarily students of color. We're in Detroit, Baltimore, Chicago, Greater DC, and we do this through access to paid internships, skills training, and mentoring. But our equity work very specifically empowers students with access, exposure, and opportunity, while also directing this pipeline of talented youth of color into industry and post-secondary opportunity. And all of this works together to get in front of youth disconnection. So far in Detroit, 100% of our students graduate on time. And even in this pandemic virtual period that we're experiencing, we're grateful to be able to continue to say that our class of 2021 is entirely on track for this as well. But so who are our students? Are all our seniors from the Detroit Public Schools District. Typically, they are students with a 2.0 to 3.0 GPA. So these aren't just opportunities restricted to like magnet school students. 99% of them are students of color, 91% qualify for free or reduced lunch. And pre-pandemic, Elizabeth highlighted this, 80% reported they contributed their wages to cover household expenses. So our core work at the Urban Alliance is the high school internship program, which I'll just describe briefly. We partner with the school district to offer seniors who enroll in a credit yielding afternoon class for both semesters of their senior year. So they get 500 hours of paid internship with local employers over the course of 9 months, where they can earn $8,000. They get 100 hours of work readiness training, financial literacy, and digital literacy. And then each student gets a dedicated mentor and case manager. We provide ongoing coaching and intervention during the course of the senior year to ensure that our students continue on in some pathway that moves them upward, college, entry level, living wage work, or even career training. And then lifetime support as an alumni. We have a dedicated staff member to support college completion and career attainment. And on the employer side, we provide employers with training on how to support an intern. We handle the payroll, we provide liability coverage, and we do our best to make sure that this is a turnkey program. So when employers engage with us, they can focus on the intern's personal and professional experience instead of logistics. And from the school district side, we serve as an intermediary between the school district and the workforce. So we do the problem solving, we'll find the common ground, and we ultimately build a bridge that gives our kids a foothold in the world of work before they leave the world of school. We see ourselves as a part of the continuum of workforce development services available to students in Detroit, career and technical education, the various programs that Stephanie just described offered by the workforce system, and more. For example, GDYT offers that critical first exposure to the professional world. CTE centers will offer students technical skills, but Urban Alliance will provide a deep touch, an intensive and long-term experience that focuses primarily on key work readiness skills and work experience. And so just last thing, we found that about 80% of Urban Alliance Detroit alumni will continue on to tour 4 universities, which is great. But we're working now with organizations like the Rock family of companies to create immediate on-ramps into the high demand fields for our students who don't necessarily choose college. So this year, a cohort of our students received specialized IT training in addition to our work readiness program and placement into IT-facing internships. So they'll have an opportunity to earn an IT certification based on their training and experience. And the Rocket family of companies is working with us to create entry-level opportunities for these students after graduation. So Urban Alliance is an actual pipeline into the employers that we work with.
Thank you, Stephanie and Margaret. Both of your programs are essential to making sure that our children are ready for that first work experience, that we take that in, that they learn from that experience and move on into employment or college after they graduate from these programs. So thank you so much. I'd like to turn it over to Benjamin. In her remarks, Elizabeth shared a little bit about how employers are stepping into DEI practices in the wake of the racial justice movement. But most efforts are focused on employees who are already in the workforce rather than the gap between where the talent that exists and the access to that initial employment opportunity.
Sure.
Yeah, so if you could talk a little bit about what you see the role of employers in this space, and also why investing in youth employment is so important to Buick GMC.
Absolutely. Thank you, Maria. And I'm honored to be a part of this panel. So just before I get into that, just a quick correction on the fun fact you shared. I actually joined the automotive industry out of high school, not GM.
Okay.
Joined GM out of college, but it goes back to what Elizabeth mentioned earlier about a network gap. And I was fortunate to have a friend who was at GM and was able to introduce me to the company and get me in just out of college. So it's so critical to have that network. And I know firsthand from friends who lacked a network gap, how critical that is when you have that gap and you don't have a network to work with. But I'll give you a better fun fact. My family is very diverse. My family is all over the world: Australia, Europe, India, Canada, South America, and the United States. So we have Latinx, Asian, white, African American in my family. So we live and breathe diversity. So it's absolutely near and dear to my heart as well. But going back to your question, here at General Motors, and I'm with the Buick GMC divisions, but I realize that I'm representing General Motors on this call as well. Diversity has always been in our DNA. There's always been opportunities and room for improvement at General Motors. So that's always been a strong suit here at GM. However, realizing that the George Floyd anniversary is only a week away, it was a terrible day in American history last year. That's really when things started to bubble up and just go into overdrive, if you will. So I actually, working with the global VP and the committee that we started, we've put certain things in place to focus specifically on the question that you asked. It's not enough to move diverse employees within the company to different roles and management levels, but you've got to think about that pipeline, because what are you going to backfill these diverse employees with once you move them up? And there's often this this misnomer or this belief that, oh, we don't have enough qualified, diverse individuals to take these jobs, so we just go into groupthink. We hire from where we typically hire from, and that's how you end up with this workforce that's not diverse. So when we look at the population, which is roughly 40% diverse in the United States, GM's efforts, and primarily Buick GMC's efforts, are to match the population's diverse numbers. So I have a committee of 6 individuals, and they work on not only mentoring and coaching diverse employees within General Motors, but we are also looking into programs within Detroit, Michigan, and nationally, as far as bringing in high school students, interns, college grads that are diverse, and just bringing awareness to General Motors. I'll give you an example. When I was growing up, I had several dreams and goals. I wanted to be an airline pilot, just different goals and jobs and career aspirations. And one day my dad sat me down and said, "Hey, Ben, you really should look into finance." And he said, "If you get a financial degree, you can do anything you want." And it's actually funny because I have a bachelor's and a master's in finance, but I haven't held a job in finance. All of my jobs have been sales, marketing, auditing, and here I am now, the chief of staff business planner for the global VP. And in this current position, I do touch the finance side, although it's not my career, but I'm also involved in supply chain, sales, marketing, planning. So it's exciting where your career can go if you're given an opportunity, awareness of what the automotive industry entails. So that's why I'm excited to be on this panel, because there may be high school students out there that when they think of automotive, they think of a dealership or they think of this concept car that they saw at an auto show. But it's absolutely critical that they get insight into the automotive industry, because you may be doing a degree in history or finance, whatever it may be, but you could end up working at General Motors and doing something super fun, super exciting that you never even dreamed of. So that's what we're focused on here at BG. And I hope I answered your question.
You did. Thank you so much,
Excellent.
Benjamin. Your comment was so point on that sometimes young people don't understand the relationship between what they're doing today and how it might impact them in the future. And so working in customer service, doing jobs that might be a first job, you think, well, that won't have anything to do with what I might be doing at GM. Yes, it does. And you're a good case in point of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd like to turn the next question to Jamie. Rocket Community Fund Partners has partnered with both GDYT and Urban Alliance. Why is youth employment an important investment for you? And what is the benefit from working with multiple organizations? Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Organizations within this ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Maria. And like Benjamin, I'm honored to be serving on this panel today. So a big gratitude to you, Maria, and the Skillman Foundation, and to you, Elizabeth and Margaret at the Urban Alliance. We're proud partners, and so we're really happy to be here at this table today. And so to answer your question, at the Rock family of companies, we know that we can really only be successful when the communities in which we operate are really thriving. And that's why through the Rocket Community Fund, we're focused on a for more than profit approach that really recognizes when our business does well, we certainly have an obligation to reinvest in our communities. And needless to say, and I think this might be a bit of foreshadowing for a future question, but we certainly have a business imperative to invest in young people. And as many of you know, pre-pandemic, there were about 60% of youth who were unemployed and about 19% around Wayne County who were completely disconnected from either school or work, both of which have lasting, damaging, and even devastating consequences on employment and income later in life. And so now you can imagine how these rates have been amplified, I believe, as Elizabeth already went through amidst COVID. And so that number of disconnected youth or underemployed youth is really due to the fact that too many Detroiters and others around the country still lack either the skills, the opportunity, the network, and or the educational requirements needed to fill some of the region's growing number of open jobs. And so additionally, students are often really unaware of the opportunities right in their own backyard, which is why it's so important to start early and offer career-focused enrichment opportunities really early on in the student's academic journey. And for us, that really starts at about 6th grade. And so that's really one of the main reasons that we invest in youth employment as an enthusiastic partner for both Detroit's Young Talent and Urban Alliance. We support youth employment simply because it works for the students like Jamaria, for our business, and for the ecosystem when we think about economic development over the next decade plus. So we really view what GDYT and Urban Alliance do as a part of the full continuum of youth employment services that our ecosystem brings to bear. And so working in tandem with our CTE programs within our local high schools, students are able to actually progress from classroom learning to that first exposure that we talked about, to the professional workplace through really intensive internship experiences such as Urban Alliance, really before they graduate and move on into the working world. And so when you're really combating centuries of systemic oppression, it takes more than one touch point for a student to become permanently connected to a pathway to economic independence. So as we invest in the entire spectrum of workforce development with programs like Grow Detroit, Young Talent, and Urban Alliance, both of those kind of programs and the necessary wraparound supports are critical to ensuring better outcomes for youth. So hopefully that answers your question.
It does. Thank you so much, Jamie. And thank you so much for stressing the importance of connecting with young people as early as 6th grade. Many times we think of kids or young people when they're about to graduate from high school, and we're like, it's time for you to get a job. But it's so crucial for them to understand that there is a on-ramp that starts in middle school. It really starts earlier than that. So thank you for lifting that up. I'd like to ask the next question to Margaret and Stephanie. Both Urban Alliance and GDYT have had a great impact on Detroit youth. Margaret and Stephanie, I'd like you to dig into what that impact has been and what are the best practices that you've developed to help you achieve the results. And I'm going to expand it a little bit because I think that Jamie brought up a really good point, and that's what should employers do who might be listening think about that would also help you achieve these results. And I'll start with Margaret with this question.
Thank you, Maria. So after 25 years of operating, Urban Alliance has had 2 independent external evaluations, and we are proud to say that we have some strong outcomes. Nationally, 100% of our students graduate from high school. 90% enroll in college, 80% persist to a second year, and 80% remain connected to a pathway that takes them toward economic self-sufficiency. And we had a randomized controlled trial, and it showed a statistically significant impact on college enrollment, college persistence, and soft skills growth. The same skills that employers are saying they're struggling to find, to the point that it's limiting their productivity. But in Detroit, since 2018, we've provided this workforce opportunity to over 170 students so far. But one of your questions was about best practices, and I want to spend some time on that. So what informs these outcomes? And I think I'd highlight 4 things. The first is mentor training and support. So we teach employers how to host an intern. The supervisor is like a teacher, and we refer to them internally as the mentor, and they're critical to the young person's success. So we spend so much time investing in teaching them how this should work. When the intern begins work, they don't just suddenly assume responsibility. A lot has gone into it. So we even provide support with helping them generating intern tasks. So we help support building out how that internship should look. And because we went entirely virtual this year, that was particularly important. Like, how can you take an internship through a screen? But, UA provided that support successfully. We offer ongoing troubleshooting with employers, and we do performance evaluations. We provide constant support, and we even have a resource library and training. But we provide onboarding, orientation, and one thing that is also important to highlight, we're very explicit about who our students are and the challenges they'll face as brilliant Black kids from Detroit who may also lack resources and might be entering a professional environment for the very first time. So throughout the year, our mentors receive additional diversity, equity, and inclusion training on how to foster inclusive spaces, how to create space to talk about race, understanding and disrupting racism, and how to recognize and address microaggressions in the workplace. The mentors, the first and most important connection, and the first piece of the professional network that we're training them to build. So we work hard to make sure that these relationships are strong and fully supported. So the other best practice I think I want to highlight is case management. So it's particularly important because our students have access to 2 caring adults, both the mentor we just talked about, and also they're assigned a program coordinator. And they train them within the work readiness, but they also serve as a professional development coach. They have an assigned caseload, much smaller than, say, a teacher or a counselor would have. So they're able to provide personalized attention and guidance throughout the year. They do regular check-ins between the mentors, interns, and they intervene in real time. So if a student is absent twice during the week, we have a sit down. It's a real time sort of intervention and find out what we can do to keep the student engaged. So it's the case management is something that stands out as a UA best practice. And also a third thing I want to highlight is our partnerships. So UA works to provide a turnkey program. You know, internship shouldn't be a heavy lift for an employer. And we tell them that they provide the internship opportunity and we'll handle the rest. And we mean it. For schools, we want to add value. Schools are pressured to ensure that students graduate and are prepared for college and career. So providing a comprehensive work-based learning program that gives students everything they need is a lot. So UA partners with Detroit Public Schools to add this capacity without increasing costs, and it helps them meet the work-based learning requirement that the state has in a low-lift way. We collaborate with employers, Detroit Public Schools, and those stand out as some of the things that make us particularly successful. And just the last one is soft skills training. So our soft skills training is rooted in the principles of social and emotional learning. And when our kids can't gain access to the environments they need to develop these skills, they'll be at a disadvantage when they're competing for jobs that require an intensive soft skills. So we develop our program to build out these skills in a social and emotional learning framework. So we have specific training that names the soft skill. It explains how it can be used in a work setting. And it gives the student a chance to practice it in a real world setting and receive feedback. We give work tasks that are tailored to students' individual learning needs. And we provide a safe learning environment that fosters inclusiveness and acceptance, and providing them with access to committed adult relationships.
Margaret, it sounds like you do such an excellent job on creating a bridge between the partners, the corporate partners, and the young people. And I will just say, coming from Skillman, we also talk about how important it is for young people to have an advocate. And it sounds like with your mentoring program, you've done an excellent job of carrying that advocacy and that person who can intervene throughout their work life, but also into college. And so I just want to commend you for your work on that. And I'd like to turn it over to Stephanie. Stephanie, same question from GDYT.
Thank you, Maria. Well, a lot of the services that Margaret described, we offer as well. So I'm not going to go over those rare services. You did a great job, Margaret, and a lot of the case management is so important, and we integrate those kinds of services as well. I want to take a different approach. I want to give an example of what I feel is one of our most significant initiatives in partnership with the Operators Union, Local 324. Young people need an opportunity to touch and feel things. In this partnership with Local 324, we have a group of young people who actually go in the spring. They train at the union facility, and that's heavy machine operation. So they train there. Then they partner with us during the summer for GDYT, where they have a paid work experience in the industry. And then for those that are 18 and above that have successfully completed, they're offered permanent employment. And we have young people who come out of high school making $22 an hour to start. That kind of integration with employers, with businesses, with the union shops, really give young people a view into what that career opportunity looks like. They are, young people learn differently than once upon a time. They need to touch it when they walk in the door. So they get into, first they learn safety, then they get into that machine. They test the environment. They get an opportunity to explore the environment. They make money during the summer. And for those that are interested, they work. They are offered full-time permanent opportunities. So this integration of workforce youth programs, employers, unions and support organizations that really understand the industry and understand how to develop young people to ready for the industry with permanent opportunities on the back end. Now we're changing the lives. When you look at an individual who's 17 years old, 18 years old, don't have a clue as to what they want to do, you introduce them to an opportunity that takes them to $22 an hour out of high school. Now you're changing that child's life, you're changing their family's life, and you're changing the community. And so one child at a time, one opportunity at a time, being provided the services that Margaret described is a best practice for us. And our goal is to spread it across multiple industries in that kind of relationship and partnership.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Wow, we're having a rich and robust discussion. I'm going to ask Benjamin and Stephanie to provide a brief answer to the next couple of questions so that we can stay on schedule.
Yeah.
Benjamin, why is the auto industry a good fit for a career path for beginning in high school? And what is the career ladder for youth entering the auto industry?
Absolutely. Great question, Maria. So I'll just speak from my personal experience. That might be the best answer. So as I mentioned, straight out of high school, I joined the automotive industry. I actually worked for Sears Automotive. And if you're familiar with these Sears Automotive franchises around the country, they're usually tied to a shopping mall, and customers come in, they're looking for new tires, brakes, etc. And when you're coming out of high school, it gives you some insight into what the automotive industry looks like. It builds confidence. It helps you with gaining sales experience, and you're interfacing with customers on a daily basis, and you're seeing different types of vehicles come in and how they're built, how they're configured, what kind of tires go on what kind of vehicle, etc. You learn a lot of basics about automobiles and the automotive industry. But from there, once you join an OEM like General Motors, for example, your career can go in unlimited pathways.
Exactly.
For example, for myself, I've had the fortune of driving high performance vehicles on a test track, or we go to Disney World in Florida where we have a GM ride in the Epcot Park called the Test Track.
You have sold every young person. You have won.
Yeah.
so thank you for sharing the different trajectory that a young person can take by going into the automotive industry. Jamie, you have worked very closely with Urban Alliance and GDYT, and you have hosted, Rock family of companies has hosted interns for a short period of time and for a long period of time. What are some of the short-term benefits that you have seen from working with young people that your team has seen?
Yeah, I mean, as brief as I can put it, in the short term, we as like an employer, I wear dually the employer hat and the philanthropic hat, but we're receiving a motivated young person without really the hassle of like creating and managing their own internal internship program. It's a leadership opportunity for maybe some of our junior team members who are looking to advance their career, potentially become a leader on their teams. And it's a fresh perspective on the work. It's not fake. The students' voices are valued in every team meeting, and oftentimes students approach with a little bit of caution and maybe are shy to start. And so that's why that mentorship relationship is so critical. So on both ends, Urban Alliance has been great for students, but also really for our team members who have stepped up to become volunteer mentors. And we've really taken it a step further. So when you talk about our team members' development, what we've done in partnership with Urban Alliance is create a mentorship training content that is like 10 modules long that will hopefully be rolling out very soon, but it's taking it to the next level because we've got so many team members who are energized about not only giving back, it's not merely altruistic, right? But this is good business. And we're really excited because it not only provides opportunities for our team members to develop and grow and support young people in their own development, but Urban Alliance does a lot of the work for us, to be honest. That case management, the preparation, the soft skills development, the same thing that GDYT does when we're in partnership through our summer efforts, like it's invaluable. And truly, we couldn't really do it without these partners.
Thank you so much, Jamie. With that, we have some questions from our audience today. And the first question comes from Brandon Johnson. And he says, in what way should we address inclusivity in the workplace for our youth? And I think that Margaret has answered some of that in terms of training and mentoring for the employers. But are there things specifically that our youth should be doing, or are we helping them to think about inclusivity and DEI as well? And I will give this question to Margaret.
Thank you for that question, Brandon. So our students they spend a whole semester preparing for the internship. And during the course of that, we work with them on how to sort of maneuver working with different cultures, working with different personalities, being open to sharing who they are, being authentic and communicating in a professional way that still presents who you are. So we really work with both the mentor and the student to get them to understand the value of being able to show up authentically, the value of diverse voices, diverse experiences and cultures. So it's a preparation thing that we do with students and the mentors to create the best experience that we do some ongoing things with our case management support.
Thank you so much. Stephanie and Margaret, in hearing about both of your programs, are the two of you are your organizations learning from each other? And what are examples of the two of you or other organizations in this space collaborating to produce better outcomes for youth in Detroit?
You want to go first, Stephanie, or I can?
Yeah, go ahead, Margaret, go ahead, and I'll piggyback.
As a highlight, I love that GDYT is able to touch so many students. Urban Alliance's program, it does a lot, but it's only able to provide this year-round experience for high school seniors in a limited way. So I love the scale of GDYT, that early exposure happens so early and continues to happen even after they come back from, if they go to college, the range of ages 14 to 24. So, I would love to find ways that we could scale in the way that DESC serves the city's youth.
Yeah. And quickly, if I can piggyback, what I appreciate about the partnership with Urban Alliance is that it gives us a target for our young people. Young people, 14, 15, 16, by the time they're seniors or juniors or seniors, we can prep them for the experience that Urban Alliance will provide, which is more intense kinds of work that we're unable to provide through GDYT just because of the scale. You know, we serve more than 8,000 young people. So Urban Alliance gives us a track to direct our young people who are interested in the kind of industries they train in. So it's just a track on the road to success, and really appreciate it. And to Margaret's point, we definitely like to expand.
Okay. Thank you so much. Benjamin and Jamie, I'm a financial person, so I'm always looking at the budget. But how do your organizations budget for youth development? And is it something that you look at as philanthropy, or is it something that you look at adding to your bottom line? How do you categorize or put youth employment and youth development into your budgets at each of your organizations?
I'm not a finance person, but I can give this a go. I represent both sides of the business. And so oftentimes, I'm typically on the philanthropic side as I lead our education and employment work. However, I work every single day with our talent acquisition team, which is pretty large, as you might imagine. But I work explicitly with talent acquisition and our internship experience team and university relations team to work through our projected, I guess what I'll say on the onset is that it's not all about the budget. We talk about impact first. What is the impact that we want to have in our community, on our business, on our team members, on young people like Jamaria? And so we kind of start from a place of need. And so it's not a, hey, we've got X dollars to spend in workforce development. How are we going to spend it? It's a very proactive, we're trying to meet a need, and thus let's put our heads together to figure out how to benefit the business in terms of, let's identify those students that want to go directly into career opportunity after the internship, right? So we can create opportunities through their networks and their mentorships, and being able to work across talent acquisition to kind of split the costs of programmatically. So as it relates to the kind of supports that Urban Alliance nationally provides to students with staffing, alumni services, those are things that we philanthropically support, but the wages come directly from the business. The business sees direct value in the students, and thus those wages that go directly into the students and their families' pockets comes from the business. And so we're very proactive in identifying both part-time and full-time opportunities for these young people during and after the course of the internship program. And so I'll hand it over to Benjamin, who maybe can give you a little bit more of the financial side.
No, you've done an excellent job, Jamie, and you could be a poster child for communicating with other businesses on how to look at it in a holistic approach, and not to look at it just from a financial aspect. But what you're saying is that these young people contribute to the bottom line.
Right. And that's the great part, is at the end of the
Yeah.
day, there's a great business benefit. If you're going to run a cost benefit analysis, right, like what you're going to see is that there is cost savings when you're talking about recruitment and retention. There are grave benefits to the business, and making those apparent from the onset when you're talking to senior leaders is important, but it is not the top priority in talking about how much does this cost. It is the benefit to the business and to the individuals we serve.
Thank you so much. Benjamin?
Thank you, Jamie, that was excellent. So here at General Motors, we have several budgets, as you can imagine, one for the corporation, General Motors itself, but then we have 4 brands underneath that pillar. So each of the brands have their budgets as well. So I'll speak for Buick GMC. Buick GMC is given a marketing budget, which is all encompassing divisional marketing activities around dealer incentives, et cetera. But we've taken a percentage of that and tied it towards mentoring activities, internships, projects with diverse students, whether it be high school or college, where they come in and we give them a problem that Buick GMC is facing, and then they would come back with a solution. So that's how we're using our budget for these activities, especially in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space. But it's primarily for the bottom line, because ultimately, not only do we want to help these students, but it helps the business as well.
Thank you so much, Benjamin.
You're welcome.
I'm going to wrap up with our final question, and I think this might be a quick one for all of you to answer. And this is from ASP of Chicago. And the question is, how do you build your connections with schools or school districts? Do you start at a specific school, or do you try to navigate through the school district administration? So where do you start? And maybe this is a younger person who's also asking, how do I connect? Do I connect in through my school? Do I connect in through my district? Do I connect in through the charter? Where do I go?
Thank you for that question. So we have been fortunate with our partnership with Detroit Public Schools District. When we first started in 2018, we worked with the career and technical education centers. And as our partnership has grown, now students from every Detroit Public Schools DPSCD high school can participate in Urban Alliance. Counselors, principals, there's some input that goes into who's eligible for our program. You have to have the room in your schedule. But right now, it's open to all Detroit Public High School seniors who are eligible, meaning your counselor is able to build it in. So we were fortunate in that we didn't have to do school by school. The district has been a tremendous partner for us.
Thank you so much. And I realize that it is now 12 o'clock and we are out of time. Thank you so much for each one of you, Margaret, Stephanie, Benjamin, and Jamie, for participating in this session today. The information that you provided was rich, it was helpful, and it was also, I think, building for the young people of the city of Detroit, and also the company partners who are here. So thank you so much. I just want to say that on our screen, you'll see links about all of our participants and their organizations, and we will share a copy of the slide deck and the recording with you today on today's conversation. Thank you so much, and I'll turn it over to Elizabeth. Did you want to say final thoughts?
I think this has been fabulous. Can you all hear me? I think this has been amazing. Thank you again to the panelists. Thank you, Maria. You're a great moderator. And please reach out to all of us. You can find us all at these links as well as on social media. So thank you. I know I learned so much today.
Thank you so much.